Good evening and welcome to the first edition of After Hours, where writers come to unwind. I've given myself a mouthful to say there. So here we are, we're sitting down with a drink, and I'm joined today by writer extraordinaire, Mr. David Green. How are you doing,
Hello.
mate?
I'm great. I'm very good. I had a bit of a strange week with a bit of a COVID scare, but it's all good.
Really?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. We went to a pet farm with the little lad.
Oh yeah. How old is he?
He's 2.5.
Oh, terrible twos.
Yeah, he's kind of in the midst of it at the moment. He's free. He's free in December. But I took him to a pet farm there a week last Sunday, and then there was a COVID outbreak last week in that area. So it was kind of.
Have you been swabbed?
Yeah. I got it swabbed on Tuesday. It feels like someone's just trying to scrape your brain. To be honest with you, it's not pleasant. It doesn't hurt.
I've had so many invasive medical things over the years. By far the worst is a lumbar puncture. Have you ever had one of them?
I've seen it done.
Oh, that was fun. What made it even more fun was the fact that they were training student nurses. So they were basically using my back as a dartboard. Go on, get that needle in there.
Yeah. It's when my wife was giving birth, she had an epidural at the last minute. It kind of went to emergency. It went to the wire basically, and they had some trouble getting it into the right place.
Yeah, they did with me. It took them ages, and he actually said, "Oh, we'll stop now because you're in a lot of pain." It's like, you bloody well won't. I'm not doing this again. Just do it.
We've caused you enough pain, so we'll stop.
Yeah. It was just like, if you stop now, I'll probably punch you. Oh, it was agony, mate. Yeah.
Why stop? You've already done enough pain. Just keep going. Just keep
exactly. This is it. This is it. It's like, the last thing I want to do is lie in bed all night thinking, oh, great, they're going to do it to me again in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
One and done. We're in quite a lot of writing anthologies and stuff together. We've worked in a short space of time. We've worked together quite a lot, I think. Yeah. And we seem to be in quite a lot of stuff. But I spotted the other day you've just had. First of all, you had a novel accepted for publication, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I sound really bored by that. I did.
I did indeed, yeah. Blasé, it happens to me every day.
Yeah. Funnily enough, before we go into that, as we have been working together quite a lot on a lot of things, some things have been announced and some things haven't. We can't talk about yet. Yeah. Which is great. But it's going to be great though anyway. We're actually from pretty much the same part of England as well, and we discovered at some point that we've probably been in a lot of the same places at the same time.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much, because we're a similar sort of age and that, and I would have been sort of flouncing around Manchester around the same sort of time you'd have been there. I mean, were you there at university? Or,
well, no, kind of. I was a bit after that. Kind of around that time. I was there quite a lot. I used to go and watch Man United all the time as well.
I used to work there.
So, but I'd be Affleck's Palace and.
Hey, good man. That's always one of my haunts.
Yeah.
On Deansgate out the back there. You got all them. You've got like 3 or 4 record shops all next to each other. Yeah. Basically, if I get as soon as I go up north, you'll find me in one of those. So I spent most of my youth in them record shops.
Yeah, it's a great place. I've not been. I've not been back to Manchester now for about 4 or 5 years probably now.
Really?
Yeah, and even before that, it was a good while before I went, and it was changed a lot. Some people.
I was shocked I was shocked when I last went up there because it's like. I remember how Piccadilly used to be. It used to be like dodgy 24-hour cafes and prostitutes, didn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
And I went there now, and it's all shiny and modern and glass and stuff. And I'm like, Where's all the Victorian red brick buildings with prostitutes hanging out of them?
I don't know where they've moved them to.
Yeah, no,
like,
yeah.
I used to be in
Pushed them out to
Salford
Hume or something.
Yeah, Stockport, probably.
Stockport, yeah, there you go. Another place I used to spend a lot of my youth. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in there for. I don't know why I used to be in Stockport. I used to work for a games company, and we had a store in Stockport, which was a bit troublesome. So I used to be going out there quite a lot to help out.
Well, what was the shop?
Game Station.
Game Station. All right, yeah. I used to go in there because I used to go to Stockport to buy my PC games, and I used to go to Game Station, and it was on that back street behind the main drag, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And there was another one further down with a white sign. And then when you're down the far end, there was a big R price on the corner.
Yeah. That was it.
I probably bought a game off you at some point.
Probably, geez, I was there quite a lot. I never actually officially worked there in that store. I spent so much bloody time in there sorting stuff out. And I worked in Game Station for about 8 years or something. Like they made me a store manager when I was 19.
Yeah.
When I was doing a degree at the same time, because they were a complete cow. And this was the best times. They were such a cowboy outfit, and they got really, really professional, which they kind of lost their edge a little bit. But I remember one time I was working in the Withenshaw store, which was a part of Blockbuster, and it was
Withenshaw.
And it was the morning.
Yeah, Withenshaw Market, Saturday morning. Every Saturday morning, after I'd been to see a band, you went to Withenshaw Market and you could buy it on cassette. This was somebody had bootlegged it, guaranteed. The same with films, like the VHS tapes. It was all shot on a camera in the back of some seedy little cinema,
It's one of the dodgiest places on earth. But one morning, right, I was remember the 50 Cent game on the PS2?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
He had his game coming out. And it was something we didn't stock a lot of because it was like, no one's going to buy this. And for some reason, I had to go and cover the Withenshaw shop. And I was there to open. And I was walking down the street and there was tons of not kids, but young adults waiting outside. I know what's
young adults, yeah.
Yeah, and I went to open the shutters, and they were like, "Hey, mate, have you got that 50 Cent game? Have you?" And I was like,
man.
I was like, "Yeah, I think we've got a few copies of it." Yeah, and they're like, "Well, we're all here for it, man. We're all here for it." And I was like, "Sound."
Oh God.
And I looked at the queue, and there must be about 30 people in there, right? So I opened the thing, went inside, looked in the shelf, and we had 3 copies on PS2 and 1 on Xbox. And I was like, I'm going to die this morning.
Yeah. Oh man.
So I rang my area manager up and I was like, listen, I've just walked into Withenshaw and there's about 30 people outside waiting for 50 Cent. And he was like, right.
You see, I saw that game when it came out, and I remember seeing it in the shop and going, "Who's going to buy that?"
People in Withenshaw loved it.
It was like you, wasn't there? There was like Shaq Fu and. There was some
food,
yeah. Wasn't there I want to say Def Jam Records? Wasn't there like a Def Jam?
Yeah, there was. Yeah. It was like Streets of Rage.
Yeah, so you actually pay like Snoop Dogg fighting somebody else or something stupid. Yeah.
They were really popular in Withenshaw. So my area manager, anyway, he was in the Arndale Centre, which is centre of Manchester. And
Centre of the universe, mate.
Centre of the universe. He was like, put a sign up saying that you'll be open at 10. This was like about 20 past 9. And he went round to all the stores in the centre of Manchester and Market Street, Arndale Centre, and got every copy of 50 Cent. And he went to Woolworths as well. Yeah. He went to Woolworths and bought a load of them as well and brought them round to me in a big crate.
Nice. Oh, man.
We sold all of them. I think we ended up getting about 70 copies of it, and we sold them all that morning.
I just didn't. So. I don't. But he's saying that. I mean, I've seen some weird. It's like I remember for the Commodore 64, back in the day, they made a Motorhead video game, and it was based on the Golden Axe model. So it was like a side-scrolling brawler. But you played Lemmy, and you actually hit people with a guitar.
Yeah, it's great.
And the drummer, his special move was vomiting on people. It was just like, what in the hell?
people used to love license. Like no one really does it anymore.
It's because of most of the games that are made on a license are crap.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's some quality ones like around the way, but they're so expensive. Like, 'cause obviously you've got to buy the license for them, and they don't make a lot of money on them. I think.
No.
So nowadays, like, there are all this free to play stuff on mobiles now. If you've got a license, that's where they are, because they can just charge people.
Like they're doing with because I've seen the adverts for all the Game of Thrones stuff. It's all like flash games and stuff like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all that sort of stuff. Whereas, like, there was a time, like in the mid-90s, where you'd have like GoldenEye and like all this.
That was a great game. Yeah.
But anyway, the book.
Yeah, the book. Yeah.
So
Santa Monica Man. Yeah.
Santa Monica Man. Yeah. So I've got two things on the way out. Kind of self-authored stuff, which is crazy, really, because I only started subbing stuff in March of this year, and I was kind of like, if I get into one anthology, I'll be happy.
That's what I was like. I mean, I started sort of July last year. Started subbing, and I got my first acceptance tail end of September. And I remember, I just thought to myself, it ain't gonna happen, I mean, I'm very much like that. I mean, I have a major sort of, what's the word?
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I just never thought it was going to happen. I just, because you don't, do you? I mean, I don't know what you thought.
No, not at all, really. Like, I only kind of really started, like, I always wanted to write since I was young. Like, it's funny, I was clearing through some stuff in the attic. We moved house. As you can tell, it looks like, we were talking before, it looks like I'm in a low security prison because of the beige and the shutters. But we're not.
Galway open prison, right there.
And they keep on giving me more light every so often for some reason. I'm not sure why, but I appreciate it. So I was clearing through some stuff in the attic because it's a newish house. Like, I found like this notebook that I had from 20 years ago. And it had. It
sounds like the start of a Lovecraft story. The tentacles come out of your face.
I looked at it, I was like, my God, my handwriting used to be so much better.
Oh, I do, yeah. Especially before I got my spinal condition, because I was completely paralysed on my right-hand side for a long time. Like, for about 6 months, I couldn't move this arm or this leg. And I came back, and I used to have really neat handwriting. And I started writing it. It just looks like a spiders shat all over the page.
It's crazy. You just get out of the habit of it, because I did, like, you're obviously in school, so you write, especially when at our age, we didn't have computer. We had, like, in my high school, we had one computer, like, for a long time, like,
we were quite ahead of the curve on ours. We had these huge great BBC computers, and we had about 6 of them. That's how posh my school was.
Not very posh than mine. But like, so you'd write everything, and then I went and I did an art degree, so it was very little writing. So you went from writing all the time. I did history and other things, so I did quite a lot of academical things for my A levels.
Right.
But then I did art for my degree because I had no fucking idea what I wanted to do. Well, actually, that's
always the way, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a bit like I wanted to get into film in some way, but at the time in England there was only one film school, which was in London.
Yeah,
and you couldn't get a grant to go there. Your student loans wouldn't cover it.
Love nor money, wasn't it?
So it was like, I can't afford to do it. Like, I worked out that I needed.
It's a shame it's not now. Because, I mean, Salford is like the centre of the universe for TV in Britain these days. Whereas back then, what did they have up north? We had Granada Studios with, like, Tony Wilson and Coronation Street, and that was it.
You're forgetting Jimmy Savile. Don't forget Jimmy Savile. That's our legacy.
God.
So like
bottom.
Yes, yeah. So I worked out that I needed like 4 full-time jobs to pay for everything to go and do it. So I was like, this is never going to happen. I just did an art degree because I was like, well, I kind of dabbled in it and everything and what have you. So I did that. So I went from writing to no writing whatsoever. But I always wanted to do writing, but I just never had the confidence to do it. And I always used to make that excuse of I'll do it in X amount of years. I'll do it in X amount of years, X amount of years, whatever. And then my son was born, so it's like 20 years basically, because I'm like, he was born when I was about to turn 35 and I'm 37 now.
Yeah.
And so I kind of transitioned to become a full-time dad when he was 6 months when my wife went back to work, because she has like a real career. So
I have the same similar sort of dynamic, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm like a 50s housewife. I stay at home. I do all the cooking, the cleaning, all the rest of it. She goes out and earns a wage. You know?
Yeah. Well,
the thing is, I'm signed off on the disabled because of my spinal thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the reasons I got back into writing.
Oh yeah, that's it. The same. I discovered that John Lennon did the same. Like when he had his second child, Yoko Ono insisted that he had to stay at home to have a child. I was like, well, if John Lennon can do it, then I can do it. So
it's not like she had a job, was it? I mean, what did Yoko Ono actually do apart from split up the Beatles?
Apparently, she was a very good business person. That's what
was she? No.
Yeah, I don't know really. But
I'm not a bit. To be honest, when it's always that argument, isn't it? The Beatles or the Stones. And I'm sorry, I'm a Stones man myself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a Beatles person, but I don't mind.
I can't be doing it. It's all too happy. I like the White Album. That's really good.
Yeah. Everyone likes the album. It's so weird.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's not a million miles away to a lot of the sort of experimental industrial stuff I listen to. Like people like Psychic TV and Throbbing Gristle and all that kind of stuff. It's not that million miles away. So,
yeah, it's a very influential album because I mean, like you got some songs that like Helter Skelter, which a lot of people say like birthed heavy metal. You've got Revolution 9,
and the Manson family, of course. Don't forget them.
You got Revolution 9, which was like the first song that was all sampled, and it was like there was no actual instrument. So it's a really progressive album, but. Anyway, what was I saying? But yeah, so I stayed at home from that point, and which is great. Like I love staying at home and everything, but it was kind of like we moved out of the city and stuff. We lived in Galway and we moved out to the sticks pretty much. And it was like I need to do something else. Like I need to go out and do something. I used to be a big video gamer, and I didn't have the time to do it anymore because you can't get out. You can't start playing a game when your son's around because there's a baby.
No, No, I imagine,
And at the end of the day, you're kind of too tired to do it and what have you. So I was kind of like, I need to get out of the house and do something. So a friend of mine had done a creative writing lesson. So she was like, why don't you go and do it? Because
Oh, is that guy? I saw you post a thing about it. He's doing it.
Yeah.
He's doing another one or something.
He is, yeah. It's another one. Yeah. Kevin Higgins.
Who's the guy?
He's called Kevin Higgins. He's probably Ireland's most read living poet. Actually, he does a lot of satire poetry. He's very, very good. He's a great guy as well. So I started doing that, and so you get a writing prompt every week, and then you just go off and do like a story or a poem, just a couple of pages or what have you. But I would very, very early on make all the fonts as small as possible, so I could have like my 2 pages was really like 2,000 words or something. And,
I wouldn't be able to do that at all. I mean, it's become a bit of a running joke that I can't seem to stay underneath word counts at the moment.
Yeah,
it's like that. Like Erie River do that monthly contest, yes. and I went to enter that. And it's at the 6,000 word limit, and I ended up turning out a 17,000 word novella. So it's like everybody keeps going, "Go on, do some drabbles for this and drabbles for that." 100 words, I can't do that.
You get, if you're doing for a 6,000 piece, you get a novella out of it. For a drabble, you'd probably get a novelette. So
yeah.
So I kind of I was doing that, and then I wrote a short story about a body being found on the end of Santa Monica Pier in the 40s, and it was guy finds the body, recognizes the body, doesn't know where from, but something in his head is telling him that he knows what his body is. Body's in real unusual circumstances. And then when he goes back to his car, he finds a briefcase in the back of his car, and there's a note, and it's the dead guy's belongings, and it's got like there's a note, and it's saying "You're next." And that was the end of the short story.
Nice.
So I did that, and then like a few months later, I bumped into a couple of people from the class, and they were like, "I mean, did you do anything about the story with the Santa Monica Pier? Did you turn it into anything else?" And I was like, "Not really. You know, I've just got an idea for it." And they're like, "Oh, you should. It was really good. We really like that story." So I was like, "Okay." So this was like January 2019. So I had a story of it. Like I knew what I wanted to do with the character because I quite liked the character and everything. And I knew even then, even though the short story didn't reveal who the dead body was, I knew who he was, and I knew the relationship with all the other characters.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just going to do it. So I just sat down and just did it chapter a week. Finished it in about February 2020, and then I just started subbing to other places.
Yeah.
And then with a novel, like I just kind of gave it to a couple of people just to read because I didn't really know what to do with it. And one of those people has a publishing house, Brian Scott, from Long Media, and he showed it to his business partner and his editor, and they were just like, "We love the story, and we'd love to. We're launching a crime thriller imprint. Would you like to launch it with us?" And I was like, "Yes."
Yeah, man.
Where do I sign?
Yeah. No, it's quite interesting because we've got a very similar pattern here. Because I mean, my first thing was when I was injured. I'd been sulking for ages because basically my career as a chef was over. Mm-hmm. So were any real chances of going back into bands and things like that. It was done. Yeah. Because some days, I mean, I'm like, a lot of the time I'm fine, but some days it'll flare up and I won't be able to walk, or this arm will suddenly start doing weird things. So like I ended up throwing biscuits at somebody in the shop because I had a spasm. Yeah, it's not good if I've got a meat cleaver in my hand. Somebody could get sick.
No. Biscuits are safe.
Yeah, and I was reading through Lovecraft again. So I do that when I'm sulking. He always cheers me up. I was reading Colour Out of Space, and I had this idea for a novel, and I thought, well, sod it, I'm doing nothing else. I may as well write it. So I wrote it, the entire novel. And to begin with, it was a mess because I'd forgotten punctuation, I'd forgotten the grammar. But by the end of it, I had it, you know. Yeah. And I just thought, right, I'm going to try my hand at some short stories. And funnily enough, the one I'm reading later after this conversation is the first one I wrote after. All right. Face in the Fabric. It's the first one I wrote afterwards.
It's really good.
Oh, cheers. And I try and sub to everything I can. I go for a mudslinging technique, you know. I'll just keep writing, just keep throwing things, and eventually some of it will stick, you know. Of course, I get rejections. Everybody does, you know. There's no point getting hung up on it, is there? You know, I mean.
No, I mean it's hard to take at first. So I think I don't take she's as a person. I take rejection quite hardly, or quite hard. In general, but it is the thing is that we're writing is that you've got to kind of look at it as in it doesn't mean the story is bad.
No, 9 times out of 10, it's just a fit, isn't it? Whether it fits with the rest of the material in the anthology or the magazine or whatever. 9 times out of 10, it's that, and also you've got personal taste because I mean I know for a fact there's a couple of people who I've subbed to who are like really like it, but not our thing because I mean my stuff is quite weird. As you know. So not everybody's going to get it.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I see people taking it incredibly personally. It's not like that at all.
No, and sometimes as well, like you know, like I've had I think I've had about 10 rejections this year, and
well, I've had a lot more than that. But I probably sub more. I'd sub to everything.
I think 7 or 8 of them have been published or been accepted from somewhere else. There's one of them that's been rejected twice from different places, and I was kind of like, so I just left it for a while, went back and looked at it, and I was like, you know what, this isn't great.
Well, that's what I do with mine as well. If something gets rejected, it goes through another draft.
Yeah,
it's like Face in the Fabric's been through like 2 or 3, because the first time I did it, it was below par. It was. Yeah. But it was the standard I was at that time. I rewrote that fairly recently, so it's more in line with what I write now.
Yeah.
And I think that's in a lot of the way that's a good thing. I mean, I try and look at them positively in that kind of respect. That you've got a chance to go back and polish a turd, so to speak, haven't you? Pick the diamonds out of it, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Because like there's been some stuff, especially like I say early on, it is all still really this year. But there's like a couple of things that have been accepted that I've read back, which was accepted like March, April, where I've kind of looked at it and gone, I'd write this completely differently. Because you do it every day, you practice every day. And
there was exactly. I mean, there was one I actually read a while ago, one of the live ones. I was reading through it and I went, "Oh, that's a bit clunky. Oh, I've used that word 3 times in the same like bit. Oh, the grammar's a bit wonky there, Tim." It's just like, but that's how you learn, isn't it? I mean,
it is, yeah. Like I was, I read through a couple of earlier things. I was like, geez, I really liked adverbs and was at one stage.
I went down the Lovecraft route. You know, eldritch horror, give us moon, horrors and abominations, and all this really melodramatic stuff.
Like it's I mean, it's when you're trying to do a certain style, like it's hard not to do that sometimes. But then, like I was writing something recently, which was it was like it's for a competition. And there's 4 rounds for it, and you had to pick a character type that you have to use each round.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be the same character, but I decided to make it the same character just because I'm a glutton for punishment. And so I picked a necromancer, right?
Hey.
And then the first prompt, as you would do, but it works out all right because I was like, well, this gives me an excuse. I can make his story over thousands of years. Like I can just make him immortal if I want to.
Yeah.
So the first round was what was the first round? Well, it's time travel, which was like how do you fit next round to time travel? So it's good to try and figure this out. The second round then was gothic horror.
Hey.
Yeah, I like gothic horror a lot. And if I went to, I think like 6 months ago, if I went to write it, I would try and write it like very archaic. You know, that kind of like verily all this kind of stuff and really.
I mean, I do with certain pieces. I mean, some pieces work with it, some don't. I mean,
exactly. Whereas with this one, what I did was I'm familiar with all the tropes and the things from gothic horror. So what I did was like, I'm just going to write this in my own voice.
Yeah.
As a writer, but I will just put all these tropes in, and it got a really good score. Like it, and what was pleasing was that because it gets scored in different categories, and for the prompt, it got 10 out of 10 from each judge because they were like, it reads gothic horror, but it was very like a modern kind of take on it, which I tried to do because like the thing that's been rejected twice is a gothic horror, and I wrote it very kind of Mary Shelley like, and it's just, you know,
I'd probably love it then.
But like I think it's kind of like it's kind of, I suppose I think it might be making a comeback a little bit gothic horror in a way, but I think it's also, some people kind of look at it and go, that's not what people want these days.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, I've noticed this. I mean, there's a new magazine started up called the New Gothic Review. You might want to give them a shot with it. It's open now. Give them a shot with it because I've just subbed them. One of my more bizarre, one of my yeah, but it's about a poet who tries to find out the secret to the universe through opium and absinthe, basically.
That sounds like something a poet would do.
Exactly. But obviously, it's going to go horrendously wrong. You know, hideous abomination from the dawn of time. Back to language. It was something I was thinking about the other day, because, I mean, you spent, obviously, listening to your accent, Manchester, right? Say, do you find yourself pulling back on specific Manchester words? Because I did it ages ago. I wrote something down because my partner acts as a proofreader, basically to make sure it's not going to offend anybody or it makes sense, you know. And I put in a speech line, and it was like, "We do one, you're mithering me." And she was like, "What's that even, mither? Yeah. What does that even mean?" The other one is Mardy. The other one's Mardy. Don't be Mardy. Yeah.
No, I do. And geez, Miva was one that's like, because my wife's Irish.
Right.
She was like, what is this word that you're always using? I'm like, this was early on when we first met. I was like,
Yeah.
Miva. Like,
Miva, yeah.
You're bothering something. Like, stop mithering me.
Mithering me, yeah.
But now I noticed as well that I do a lot of Irishisms. And
Do you?
Yeah, as well. I spent a lot of my youth here anyway. And then I've been back here for 11 years now.
Right.
So, it comes at so being one of them. I say so a lot, which is like Irish people say.
Yes, yeah, of course, yeah.
So, Jesus, I'm going to be real conscious of this now. So what I did was I purposely started setting a lot of stories in America where I'd have to really focus on the dialect and the language of it, so that I wouldn't be writing stuff that people wouldn't understand unless they were from a certain area of England.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you there? Are you still there? It's got a bit weird.
Earlier stuff. Yeah, still there. Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah, because a lot of my earlier stuff, it was a lot of like Miva and all this kind of stuff and what have you. So and like the thing that I've got coming out in October from Blackhead Press called Dead Man Walking, which is a novelette.
1 second.
Is set in
Look at this. Here we go. There's the link, people.
There we go.
Yeah, you read that. It's davidgreenwriter.com.wordpress.com is his website. And then you got viewauthor.at/David_Green.
Thank you.
And where is it? See, I paid. Look at this. Spared no expense. There we go. That's the link for your thing. So it's www.blackhairpress.com/dead-man-walking. Yeah, you get the idea.
You get it. It's like it's on an Amazon box as well. That's great. I like it. It's like
recycling, isn't it?
Spared
no expense.
Yeah, it's great. So this
because I can't figure out how to make captions work.
I think when this has got like 1 million subscribers, I think it should still do it in the same way.
Oh, I'm gonna. I like low tech. So I've got a couple for these that went up here now. Yeah, get that.
You can save them for next time that I'm on.
It will happen again, mate. Because
of all the stuff we're working on together anyway. But
exactly. Yeah.
It's out, I think, in October. I think it's a novelette, so like you can read it in about an hour and 20 minutes or something. It's going to be it's about 12,000 words.
Yeah, the short reads are the short reads in the same sort of dinky format as the lockdown books?
I think so. Yeah, I've not actually got a physical copy of one of them yet, but I've got.
Yeah, they're nice little pocket books, like that size. They're so cute. It's like I found out earlier that they fit in your sporran quite nicely. Which is handy for me when I go to gigs. I can have my book with me in case they're rubbish.
Hand them out and get them signed.
Yeah.
This one's out in. I think it's going to be out in October. And like, I mean, they're going to be that cheap as well. I think they're like £1.
Yeah.
For the ebook.
I think my novella Burning Reflection, which is the one that was originally a short story, that's going to be in that sort of format as well.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, they're really nice. Like,
they're a bit of a thing these days, aren't they? I mean, I went to Waterstones the other day to pick up the paperback, the Joe Hill paperback, Full Throttle, and they've got all these them little dinky books in. I've never seen them in shops before. It must be some kind of new fad.
It's like I think it is like ease of carrying, because I think what it is. I think it's Kindles that have kind of made it. Because you get a lot of people that are like, well, I prefer a Kindle because it's so easy to carry and I can put it into my pocket and what have you. So a lot of publishers are kind of going, well, let's make our books a little bit smaller. Sorry, I was just pouring another glass.
No, carry on, mate. Yeah.
And in my prison, they allow me one.
Yeah. Authentic.
That's good behaviour. So they're handy, they're handy to have, and the good thing as well is like if you go into like a book fair or something, like you can carry more of them and have more of them with you, which is
I suppose.
But so this one, I'm looking forward to this one because I think it's going to be if enough people like it and enough people buy it, like hopefully I'll get a series out of it, because I've got.
Is that your Nick Holleran thing?
Yeah, Nick Holleran, Dead Man Walking.
Yes, you ran the synopsis past me, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, I did, yeah. So,
I was just like, yeah, I'd read that.
Yeah, well, like, hopefully people will, because like it's I've got ideas of where it's going to go, like, and I know kind of where the end point of the series would be, which is what kind of like how I work. Like I know the beginning, and I'll work on the characters, and I'll say, well, this is the end point down here, and then I'll be like, let's just find my way there.
That's why I never really plan. I'm a complete pantser. I have an idea. I write the idea in the notebook. I look at it a little bit, throw the notebook down the side of the chair and start typing and just see what happens. You can always, that's the beauty of word processors. It's not like typewriters, is it? It's not like you're stuck with page after page of actual print. If it's crap, you just press delete. It's dead easy.
That's it. Well, like, I think that I've noticed that you can always do as well. It's like, some people go like crazy with backstory. It's like, this thing, I have to go back and write pages of backstory about this thing. It's like one or two, like the thing that we're working on at the moment, we can't really talk about it, but it's coming from Black Hair Press as well. And it's an anthology with linked stories. And the kind of what we're doing is like,
it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be brilliant.
Well, it's got us in it, so it's going to be awesome.
So what we're kind of doing at the minute is like, we've got the kind of stories together, and we're linking them all together a little bit, because they don't follow on from each other. But all you need is like a line or two here and there.
I mean, I try just to fit it in as you go along. It's the whole thing of showing rather than telling, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Just a line here and a line there, and it just broadens your character out. You don't need to say. I mean, I did it when I first started. I like the chapter, like in that novel I wrote. I really need to redo it, because the concept of it, the story is sound. It's just weighed down with too much. Like I had a. It's the old style of writing, isn't it? Where they spent page after page describing how somebody looked.
Yeah.
But if you read it, it's incredibly boring.
Yeah, exactly.
Just get the scissors out.
And it's funny, like a lot of things that you read nowadays don't even bother describing characters.
No, I just do a bit here and there, you know.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And like, it kind of really stands out to me like a lot, because this Dead Man Walking one, I'd never read Dresden, but I knew about it.
Right.
And so I knew the kind of premise of it. And I haven't read it. My missus has got all the books, but I have watched the TV show. Right. Okay. Right. So this one, I kind of designed it to be somewhere between Dresden and Constantine.
Right.
That was my kind of like, get it in here. And people that have read it, my beta readers, have said that is where it lives. Like, it is that kind of thing. So
when you said it to me, I was like, hell, it's Painkiller.
Painkiller,
the old video game.
So like, after I finished it, I wanted to read Dresden, because I'd heard a lot about it, and a lot of people always said like, you'll really like Dresden. So I finished writing Dead Man Walking, and then I went and read it, and there is some similarities. But what was funny is like, because Jim Butcher is like this, I think it's about 15 years since his first book. And
he's been going a while now.
Yeah, and the first couple are like that. Someone will walk into a room, and it'll be like, she walks into the room and she's there, and she has blue eyes and brown hair, and this is literally what he says. And it's but you get to the later ones, and he'll just say, she stared at me with blue eyes, and that's it. That's the only description that he'll give.
Yeah.
But like,
I think that's better, because your mind is gonna just fill in the blanks.
Exactly.
If you're invested in the story, your brain fills in the blanks. I mean, like one of the big guilty parties of it is early Stephen King. It's like literally half of it is just him describing the characters.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's got like, and he's the same. Like, as he's gone along, the scissors have come out, and it's all got snipped off.
Yeah.
I mean, the Stand. That's just. I mean, you could beat Wayne to death with that book. It's about that big.
Because when you think about it, and even in a short story, unless it's like just something that you're writing that's only got one person in it, but more often than not, there's 3 or 4 characters going to be in it. And if you describe 3 or 4 characters into complete detail, that's a lot of...
You're over your word limit, aren't you?
Yeah. It's a great quote. I don't know if you've heard of him. There's a writer called Brandon Sanderson. who is
I again is another one that my partner is really into all the sword and sorcery and fantasy and magic and all that. That's her thing. She's dragons and witches and all that kind of business, whereas I'm all tentacles and mass murderers. So
I straddle both of those things. I like both. So Brandon Sanderson, he took over from when Robert Jordan died. He came in and finished off Wheel of Time series, which is actually my favourite series of all time.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And me and Chris Holtman, who's in the guild, are starting a Wheel of Time channel pretty soon, actually, to discuss it, because he's read the first couple of books and I've read them all multiple times. So we're going to go through, because there's a TV show coming out next year, and we're going to go through it 5 chapters at a time. We're going to kind of discuss what's happened and where he thinks the story's going to go.
Well, it's Christopher Holtman who I'm actually doing these with, the guild.
Yeah.
And the podcast, the round table later that I'm doing, the Lovecraft round table, that's with him as well. And again, he's going to be my next guest.
He's taken over the
he is, isn't he? He's just like
podcasts.
He's everywhere. He's like a ninja or something.
So Brandon Sanderson, like he does creative writing lessons as well. He still does them, even though he's like a massively successful author.
Oh, that's cool.
And like I think he's like the fees are quite high, but for a lockdown, for lockdown he was doing them online. But he did a great. He releases them online, and he was doing one about, I can never remember, in media res, which is when you enter a scene.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So he was saying that you've got 3 points of entrance. So say he was like taking an example of someone's robbing a bank, and you'll get some people that enter the scene and the robber is stood with the teller with a gun in the face.
At the window. Yep.
Give me all your money, right?
Yeah.
And then he was saying you'll get some people that'll start it, and it's the robber is just next in line. And they're about to, and you get that kind of like tension first where they're kind of stood there. And
of course, yeah.
And you get some writers then which will start with him or her, the robber, walking into the bank.
Yes.
And you build it up a little bit more. And then he says, and then you have Stephen King. And he's like, and I like Stephen King a lot, but you have Stephen King that will start with the robber the night before, where he's at home. And he's
while he's watching the television and eating a bowl of cereal. Yeah.
And then he goes to sleep.
And then he scratches his bottom and goes to bed. Yeah.
And then he wakes up and he'll read his newspaper, and then he'll walk to the bank, and he'll meet about 3 or 4 people that he knows on the way to the bank and have conversations with them.
And a fly will be on. There'll be a fly in his car that he has to describe in immense detail. Yeah.
And he was
it works. It has a place. I mean, I start with basically gun in the face. That's my style. I will every time, just start with it. Because if you want to go back and do all that stuff, you can still do that. Just cut back. Just do the first bit, star break, cut back to it.
Yeah. Someone, Kevin Higgins actually does who I started quite about lessons. He was talking about it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, and he was saying there's no way on earth that was the first thing that you ever typed for that book. He said that might have been 3 or 4 paragraphs down.
Yeah.
And then he's actually this is the first line of the thing, and just cut the stuff before it.
Totally. I mean, it's what I do. I mean, some stuff, because like I say, I'll just start writing it. I don't really give it much thought. I tend to write kind of stream of consciousness. It just sort of happens. I just sort of and I'll go right. Well, that bit's good, but H.P. Lovecraft actually said about it. How he did it was basically your first draft, just get it all down, then you can move it all about and put it where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Kind of how I do it. I'll write it down and go, right, okay, I need a punch at the front, so I'll put that bit there. And that bit doesn't work, so I'll put that bit there. Tetris, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because like that first, like, that's something that I've really picked up from reading other people's work, actually, because I do quite a lot of beta reading. I do a bit of reading for some publishers, like I know you do as well, for stuff. And that first... something that I've really picked up was like you have to hook people with the first line.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you look, and if another author called his author's name is Drew Starling, I think you know him.
I know Drew Starling, yeah.
Yeah, he pointed out to me, because we were talking about like how a lot of people ask for the first, especially for longer works, they ask for the first 3 chapters of a book to kind of make your mind.
Yeah.
And he was saying that, like, you know, you need to hook them in the first page. And again, going back to Stephen King, he took a screenshot of the first page of The Shining, and he was like, just read that first page. And like, if you like Stephen King or not, the first page is brilliant, because you just, it's very un-Stephen King like, because you're just in the middle of a job interview.
Yes.
And Jack Torrance is like, just kind of like, oh, this guy's a piece of shit. I'm just like, you know, and it's like,
yeah.
Straight away you're in there and you're getting
the iconic thing going on, isn't there? That whole sort of misanthropic kind of thing. Yeah, totally.
And the dialogue's really good, and like, you know, it's really punchy and snappy, and you know, you've got to really, and you know, I've read a few things for
another one who's like that is Caitlin R. Kiernan.
Yeah.
Who does a lot of cosmic horror and weird fiction and stuff like that. I mean, I love her novel Threshold. I think it's amazing. But the first chapter is like everything goes completely it's just like an explosion. But she doesn't explain it at all, and just starts like right back at the beginning. So what a hook, because you're there going, no. Tell me what happened. I want to know what's happening. She's evil with that. Every single thing she does is like that. The first chapter is a proper like mind twister. And you're like, what was that? What happened there? Who was that?
And that's how, like, I think how writing has changed quite a lot, because like I read like again, to go back to the thing that me and Holtman are going to be doing, the Wheel of Time. Reread, that starts off with a prologue, which is really, 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 really kind of, you don't even understand who the people are in it until you've finished the entire book, pretty much. And it's even to the point where it puts people off from getting further into the series. And it's the sort of thing that if it was released these days, it wouldn't be in the book, or it might be split up and put into
Tolkien. I mean, that's like Lord of the Rings. I mean, Fellowship of the Ring. If you've watched the film and never read the book, you will have no idea how incredibly boring the first half of Fellowship of the Ring actually is.
Unless you love songs and poems and other things. There's lots of songs in it.
There is lots of songs. It just goes on. It's like,
you know, he was a pantser as
well.
Yeah, I've read the Silmarillion a few times, but I understand. I
don't actually understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's just like,
the Silmarillion was the thing he was working on, and the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings are just spin-offs from the Silmarillion. But like he was a complete pantser.
Yeah, I know.
And to the point where he would be writing and hit a wall.
That's the problem where they're like trying to finish his stuff after he died, because he wasn't a plotter. He was a pantser. He made it up as he went along.
He had so many different versions of things, which he was like, oh, actually, I'm going to go back and redo that at another point. But like the Lord of the Rings itself, the reason it took so long to come out after The Hobbit, because it was supposed to be just a straight sequel to The Hobbit. And that's why
wasn't it? Yeah.
I mean, the first half of The Lord of the Rings, when they're in the Shire especially, has like talking foxes and stuff, which never appear again. There's no concept of it, like, you know, because obviously in The Hobbit you have the talking spiders and all this kind of stuff.
Of course,
But he was the kind of writer where he would he'd write for a certain amount of time, and when he hit a wall, he'd just start again from he wouldn't just like work on that last chapter.
Oh, he wouldn't work through it. He'd just game over.
Yeah. So like he obviously
couldn't do that. Especially something that size. Could you imagine? 10,000 words in, you know, 60,000 words in. Now start again.
Jesus. But I mean, it's a different time. Like, but it's a different time. Like, I mean, I love The Lord of the Rings. Like, I've not read it for a long time, actually, to be fair. But I used to. I still have the same copy of The Hobbit that I had when I was 7. And I know that I was 7 because I wrote in it and I said, "This belongs to David Green," and I had my address and I had my age on it, right?
My copy of Skeleton Crew, Stephen King, has got that in it.
Oh,
It's got mine, yeah. It has my class number in it as well.
Yeah, mine did as well. Yeah, mine did as well. Like, I think that was a real kind of like thing to do in the 80s and early 90s.
It was,
like,
yeah.
Write our names on everything in case someone finds it, and we'll know exactly where we are. But like, yeah, so I've still got that, and I think like my copy of Lord of the Rings isn't too far behind that. I think I was about 10 when I read the Lord of the Rings. So it's like it took me about a year to read it all, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But then I used to read.
It's quite heavy going.
It is, yeah, it is. But I used to read that.
Seriously committed to get through it.
Yeah. You
Great
do,
book. Don't get me wrong. It's great, but it's not casual reading, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's not. I used to read that, The Hobbit and the Silmarillion, once a year, every year, which I've not done for a while.
I've read the Silmarillion once. That was enough.
It's tough because it's basically a history of the world. Like it is.
Yeah.
And when people say that, like, oh, Lord of the Rings, it's like it's pretty archaic these days, which it is. It's nothing compared to the Silmarillion.
No.
It's just
the Silmarillion was archaic when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because that's when I read them all. It's like,
yeah.
I got through The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, no problem. Silmarillion, I was just thinking, what?
Like, the Silmarillion starts with the creation of Middle Earth,
the
planet, actually.
It's like Genesis myth, isn't it? It's like some kind of Genesis event. Yeah.
It's by God singing at each other. That's how it's made, and it's like.
I know. Well, this is it. It's just like.
Yeah.
It's like, not wanting to cast any aspersions, but whatever he was drinking, it must have been pretty damn strong, is all I'm saying.
The thing is as well, though, he was writing the Silmarillion in the trenches in World War One, so it's kind of like, where the fuck are you getting this from, mate? Like,
madness,
it must have been something to get out of what he was in, like,
Yeah.
You can see a lot.
I mean, you can see the themes going through it.
Yeah.
You can see. Yeah. Especially with like Saruman's army and the tower and all that kind of business. It's the Wehrmacht, isn't it? It's
and kind of companionship, because Tolkien was kind of upper middle class, and he went into the army as an officer, and then but he made friends with actually he was in a little writers group from Oxford, and all of them died in World War One except for him.
Oh, blimey.
And they'd be writing letters to each other and stuff from one by. You can get, there's a couple of books with all his letters in it. And you can see as time went, he just didn't receive letters from them anymore. And then he'd hear word that they died and what have you. But then he made friends with the rank and file soldiers who if he was back home, he would never have mixed with. And that's Frodo and Sam. That's their relationship.
Yeah, I get that, yeah. That's cool. Right, I'm just looking at the time. We better start wrapping this up now.
We should,
yeah. And definitely come back, because we're not halfway through this yet. But yeah.
No, we'll come back for part 2.
Yeah, definitely come back for part 2. So before we go, again, no, that's the wrong one. Here we go. Okay, yeah, check out David Green's website, which is davidgreenwriter.wordpress.com.
Rolls off the tongue.
Doesn't it just? Yeah. And then if you want to go Amazon and grab his books and stuff, it's viewauthor.at/David_Green.
Thanks for making
this is going to be the first of a series of these where I'm just going to sit down, have a drink, and just talk with authors, publishers. So if anybody's watched this and you want to come on, get in touch with me. You can either get in touch with me through the Facebook thing, or you can get in touch with me through my website, which is timmendeeswriter.wordpress.com.
That's very similar.
It is, yeah. Because he made them. yeah. But it's like I'm one for making universal links. I give everybody a universal link just because I
appreciate that.
Yeah, it makes life so much easier, man. And these will be uploaded to YouTube. You're probably watching it on YouTube, so you're probably on the channel. So hit subscribe. Hit subscribe. There'll be plenty of these coming out. Also, this will be going out as a podcast, which will be on Spotify and Anchor, I believe. So I'm waving at you. If you can't see me, but I'm waving.
You're really missing out if you don't see us, though.
Oh yeah, damn right.
We're handsome men.
Indeed. Yeah, that's it. Strike a pose. Yeah. So yeah, and if you're not watching and you're not on YouTube, my YouTube channel is tinyurl.com/Tim Mendees YouTube. Okay. Yeah. David, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
Thanks
Absolute
very much.
pleasure.
We should definitely do this more often.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I've enjoyed this. Yeah, you take care, mate. I better
You
crack
too.
on.
Good luck
Yeah.
for the rest of the night.
Oh, yeah. That's one down. Okay. Thank you for tuning in, people. See you soon. Bye.
See you soon, bye.
Bye. Where's the button? It's not stop recording. It's
No, we're still going.
oh wow.
Behind the scenes.